I'm going to show you how to make some dry rubs for chicken. Something that you can put on the grill or you can bake and make something really flavorful out of what is essentially one of the flavorless meats, chicken breast. Now I have my chicken breast here and I've cut it into thin little strips, maybe about an inch thick, but long. We want a high surface area so we can get a lot of our rub onto here. Now for a rub, we don't want to add any salt. Salt will start to dry out the meat. We're going to put these rubs on for anywhere between 2 and 12 hours overnight. And if we put the salt on now, the meat would get dried out. We'll put the salt on later. Also, if we're going to grill, we don't want to put any sugar on. Anything with sugar that we put on before we put it on the fire might burn. So the first rub I'm going to make is coffee ground and red pepper. Very, very simple. I'm going to put a little bit of garlic in that and we'll be done. Now, I'm using fresh coffee grounds because that's what I have, but if you have old coffee grounds, something that you might think is has gone stale, then that'll work just fine. I'm going to put in maybe half a scoop of coffee grounds, and I like mine quite spicy, so a good bit of red pepper, and then maybe 3 cloves of garlic. Then I'm going to take my chicken, put it in there, and just move it around, coating everything in a dry substance. Now the garlic is going to make these things a little wet. That's fine. Some of the moisture will come out, but basically what we're talking about here is a dry spice on the outside. Now for the next rub, I'm going to do something a little bit more complicated. I'm going to use cumin, coriander, and black pepper. I have here unground. And this means that the spice will be fresher, and we're going to have some fibrous bits of especially of the coriander and the pepper. And that'll be good. It's going to create kind of a crust on the outside of the chicken that'll taste crunchy, but it won't be a fried, greasy crunchy. It'll be a healthier crunch. So in order to break these things up, we're going to need to grind them. Now if you have a mortar and pestle, you can use that. If you don't, you can take some of this, put it in a plastic bag and hit it with a hammer, or you can use a coffee grinder. Now, coffee grinders are wonderful. I use them far more often to grind spices than I do to grind coffee. I'm going to put in maybe 5 tablespoons of coriander and two tablespoons of cumin and maybe 1 tablespoon of black pepper. And then I'm going to take my trusty grinder, pour everything into there, close the top, and grind. And there we have our ground mixture. So get our chicken, put our dry mix in there, put our garlic in there. And again, doing this one-handed is difficult. Please, when you do this at home, use 2 hands. And coat it. And you can see these pieces have quite a lot of junk on them, and when that grills, it's going to make a really nice, delicious coating. Alright, now if you look, I have a little bit too much rub. which is good because the chicken is going to lose a little bit of moisture and we want to have a little bit left over. This is what you want your chicken to kind of look like. You should barely be able to see what is under it. Now we're not adding any egg or any oil to try and get this to attach. It'll attach on its own. And this is a finer grind, so it'll look darker maybe, but it still will look good. Now if you're wondering where you can get raw spices, the best place is from an Indian market. Or maybe a Latin market. In their dried form, these things are very cheap. A few dollars a bag, and you will probably go a few years without consuming a bag. Alright, now for our chicken and vegetables, our kind of Indonesian flavored theme, we're going to make ourselves a satay sauce. Now we're going to make this not so thick, because we're just going to put this over some steamed vegetables. So I have some red chilies, some cilantro, a little bit of green onion, garlic, peanut butter, peanuts, fish sauce, and then we're going to need to add some salt. So I'm just going to chop up this stuff, get the onions really, really fine. I want very, very small pieces of everything. Now the peppers we're going to want to make very, very, very small because they're very spicy. We want them evenly distributed. Especially because they're going to be raw, they're going to retain a lot of their heat. Now I've deseeded these peppers so that they won't have as much heat. The seeds and the flesh right around the seeds have most of the heat. Our peanuts crushed, we're going to use a grinder again. If you don't have a grinder, you can use a mallet, put them in a plastic bag, and then just smash, 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 or a mortar and pestle. The grinder is just less work, although peanuts obviously have a lot of oil, so when you grind up peanuts, you're going to have a lot of gunk in here at the end, and it's going to be a major pain to clean. I chose to do this. The grinder needed cleaning anyway, so. As you can see, most of the peanut is in a paste. I'm going to add some fish sauce, maybe 2-3 tablespoons full. 4. And I'm going to add some lime juice, trying to keep the seeds out of here. I'm using about 3 limes worth. If you have a little lime juice shaker, maybe 4 tablespoons of lime juice would be nice. The stuff in a bottle is a little bit weaker than the fresh. And if you like sriracha, you could just use sriracha, or you could maybe spice up your sriracha, put some peanuts in it, and some more pepper, cilantro, and then use a lot of sriracha. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would rather just make something, but obviously there are those who enjoy that. Now for the peanut butter. You could use chunky peanut butter and less peanuts, or you could just use creamy and more peanuts. Now, maybe 1 or 2 of these heaping spoonfuls. We're just going to go with 1 right now. We're going to try and blend this together. It's going to be really difficult to blend. Alright, now in order to get mine to blend well, I've added about maybe 4 tablespoons of water to get it to blend, and we have a consistency that is like a goop, like a sauce. We're going to put this over our vegetables. Now if you like, you can add a little bit of sugar to this, and it'll enhance the sweetness. I'm not a big fan of sugar, so I'm going to stave that off until closer to the table. But it should be very nutty, very sour, a little fishy, garlicky, and hot. And that's what it is. Now for our vegetables, we have some baby bokchoy. I'm going to put some of this in here, maybe about half of it, because my steamer is not very big. And some mung beans. Now the bok choy, the big sticky thick pieces Now the big pieces of the bok choy are going to take longer to cook, so I'm going to put them in there, put the top on, let them steam for 2-3 minutes, and then I'm going to add our mung beans. Alright, now looking inside our steamer, we can see that things have really started to soften up, and so we're going to add some mung beans on top. Don't do what I just did and get them all over the stove, but a few more. Close it and wait another 2 minutes. Alright, now you could do this in your conventional oven. I'm going to use a toaster oven because it's smaller and easier to film. Also, it's a little bit easier to clean. So I'm just going to take this chicken that we rubbed. I'm going to put it in here. I've preheated it to bake at about 400 degrees. Putting it in here, leaving a little bit of space around each piece. Now, if you were doing this in an oven, you might want to put a pan below it to catch some of the pieces of the rub that fall off. I'm going to put in some of both types of chicken on either side. The rub doesn't affect the cooking time, so we can cook them together. Alright, and then there we go. Put this in there and shut it. Now you'll start to smell it when it is close to done. Take the largest piece out after maybe 15 minutes, cut it in half, make sure it's done, and that's it. Back to our vegetables. They've actually been here for about 3 minutes. You can smell them. They are done, so we'll turn them off, let them cool a bit, and then we'll put it all together. Well now, check these, see if they're okay. I'm just going to cut through these and see if they're done. And as you can see, they are. There's no pink. Chicken is reasonably dry. Now I've let these sit for 5 minutes. If you cut them right after they come out of the oven, then a lot of the juices will escape. So I'm just going to cut up what I'm going to use right now, but I'm going to cut it into little strips. And you can see it's moist and no juices are escaping, so it should taste nice and juicy and good, yet crisp on the outside. I have 2 little breast strips for myself, so that comes out to 1 chicken breast. Now, we did not salt this because we didn't want the rub to extract all of the salt from it while it was marinating, so we need to add salt and sort of rub that in. Now I have some vegetables on my plate, and I'm going to add some of this satay goop. And I'm going to mix that in to the vegetables. And then I'm going to put the chicken on top, and I will have myself a delicious meal. And this is nice and healthy. We've steamed the vegetables, the best way you can cook vegetables. We've baked the meat. We've added the only fat, in addition to what might be on the very lean chicken, is in the peanut butter. If I wanted maybe more, if I was hungrier, I might add some rice noodles or some rice to this. Right now I'm just having lunch, so I think that the vegetables will be fine for me. But bon appetit!